All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to my channel and welcome to my tour video for my handmade truck camper. Now, if you guys aren't familiar, my name is Dave. This is my YouTube channel, In-Game Campers. And for the last 4 years, it's been an important part of my life, and I've made 8 handmade truck campers. I've also done van build, and I'm working on another van build as of the time of this recording. Now, for me, building these campers is a passion. It's a hobby. It's an artistic venture more than anything else, and I love building them. I love the melding of making something that's beautiful with something that is practical. Now, my campers aren't for everybody. A couple of my goals that I strive for is this perfect balance between comfort and mobility. And what I mean by that, it's kind of that proverbial just right temperature of the porridge, right? It's a camper that's comfortable inside, that's going to keep you warm. It's going to have, a sink. It's going to have an area to cook in. It's going to have storage. It's going to have a nice bed. It's going to have, a fridge, all these things. And in fact, I'll talk about it in a while, but all my campers even have an air conditioner. I'm in the Southwest, so keeping cool is a great priority. But on top of that, it's not this great big camper that's going to lug down your truck or require you to have a 1-ton. This camper sits right here on just an F-150. And though this would not technically fit on a smaller truck because of the size of the base, from a weight perspective, it could probably be just as comfortable on a Tacoma or something like that. And, that is that balance that I found has been exceptionally hard. Now, this 8th camper is very special to me. And why is because I think I've hit that perfect balance. I've spent a lot of effort on making this as lightweight as I can. I've spent a lot of effort to make this as aerodynamic as I can. And the end result is something that with this on this truck and me driving around, it's almost indistinguishable that it's there. So let me walk you around the camper so you guys can take a look at it, and let me describe how it's built, and then we'll jump inside and take a look. So many of you are probably looking at this camper and recognize that it's made out of wood, and your immediate assumption is probably, man, that thing is heavy. Well, I'll tell you this. The wood that I use to make this is actually cedar. I'm sure many of you know this, but different species of woods have dramatically different qualities. Cedar is a very special one because it's very lightweight. I was able to build this camper, and the dry weight, so it doesn't include any water or the power bank, which is the main power supply for this camper only weighs 500 pounds. Specifically, it came in at 490 pounds. So for a truck camper, as I'm sure you guys are aware, that is exceptionally light. To my knowledge, there's nothing on the market that even comes close to that. And like I said, it comes down to that wonderful differentiation of qualities of different species of wood. And cedar is a very, very light wood. This, like I said, was made from the ground up by myself. I've learned many, many lessons over the years of building these. It's all completely handmade, right in my garage, believe it or not. So the outside structure is cedar planking. Out here in the west, or in the southwest specifically where I live, I couldn't get the traditional tongue and groove. So when I first developed this building technique, I had to kind of go unconventional. So the wood that's actually used here is cedar fence pickets that I just buy at my local home store. Now, of course, I plane them down, and I use a lap joint to connect all of the individual pieces for a waterproof seal. And then I use a technique I developed using an outdoor grade caulking to hold everything together. Kind of a bit unconventional, but what I found is caulking actually has a pretty substantial adhesive quality, but most notably, this cedar is going to naturally expand and contract with temperature and humidity. And so I had to use an adhesive and a mechanism that would allow it to do so without tearing itself apart. But that caulking technique worked really well. Now, the frame in this is also cedar, and the only other, I used a little bit of hardwood around the door frame and a couple other key areas. But other than that, the only other building material is the roof is Luan, quarter-inch Luan, uh, and it's covered with fiberglass mat and a couple coats of a gel coat. And then the main floor is has a cedar frame, but it also has a piece of plywood on top, and then a synthetic vinyl flooring, which is what you guys see down there on the flooring. Now the windows on this are an acrylic style window, and as you guys can see, they actually, when they open, they actually swing outwards. They're technically a dual pane and offer a little bit of insulation value, though I'll admit it's not a lot. These particular windows came with a trim kit, and when we go inside, you guys will see that. I get a question a lot of times about where I bought these, and I bought these windows quite some time ago, and I'll admit I don't specifically remember, but I think I found them on eBay. But I've also seen similar or perhaps maybe the same windows on Amazon before. So if you were interested, my recommendation is just to kind of Google acrylic RV window. These are 20 by 20 inch. So over here, this box that you guys see up here that has my YouTube channel logo here, In-Game Campers, that's actually what I call an air conditioner pod. As you guys will see inside, pretty much all of my campers, with the exception of the very first one I made, has an air conditioner in it. You know, I'm in the desert, and keeping cool is my priority. So that door on that pod right there opens up, and I have a little stick that will hold it open. And then inside of there is a 5,000 BTU air conditioner unit. Now, this particular camper is powered, I just use a solar gen, and it's all plug and play. So theoretically, if one of them failed or I wanted to go to a bigger one, I could just remove one, put another one in there. And I have a fuse box, of course, which all of my wiring and USB plugs and so forth all connect into. And I found that with the larger power banks, you can actually run these 5,000 BTU air conditioner units for a couple hours. And for a small camper like this, I'm sure you guys can imagine, that's going to cool it down pretty quick. So you can run those, you know, turn them on and turn them off and keep pretty cool even in the hottest of summer days. Now around the front, I'm sure you guys noticed that I have some solar panels that wrap around the roof. So these are flexible panels. Flexible panels have some pros and cons. They're lightweight, of course, they're flexible, so they're easy to maneuver around a curved surface such as on this roof. But they do tend to not last as long. There's 300 watts up here, so there's three 100-watt panels, and they're very long, narrow and long panels. They're made by Bouge RV. I'm not necessarily advertising for them in this video, but if you were interested. These were pretty spendy, flexible panels, pretty expensive. I've tested them before, and I've been happy with their performance, so I spent a little bit of extra money, and I don't know if they'll last quite as long as like a traditional rigid panel, but I think they're going to do pretty well, and they have produced really good energy. But most notably, you know, I wanted to maintain this aerodynamic contour of this roof line right here, which is a big part of the design, and comes back to that idea of mobility. You know, making it lightweight is important, but also trying to make it as aerodynamic as possible is important. And then finally, building these, more than anything for me, is an exercise of an artistic interest I have. So I want to make them beautiful. And I think natural curves like that, especially when you combine it with a truck camper like this, well, in my opinion at least, I think it's beautiful. I think it turns what traditionally is just seen as a very practical thing that you put on the back of your truck to stay in and keep warm or keep cool, to something that is actually artistic and beautiful. And then finally, regarding that cedar on the outside, the coating on there is it's a higher end coating that would traditionally be used for log homes. And I found that holds up really well. Real quick, one final note on the exterior here. That little box up there, that's a vent. I didn't want to put a vent on top of the roof because, of course, I didn't want to disrupt the aerodynamics. You guys can see up in each corner, there is lights that provides running lights and the brake light function, and I just tie it into my wiring harness, my trailer wiring harness. I have those up there for extra visibility. Plus, sometimes I carry a motorcycle on the back of this camper, and I wanted some lights a little bit higher, so because when my motorcycle's on there, they sometimes block the brake lights in the rear. I also have an external light up there between the AC pod and the door, and of course, my good friend Sasquatch keeping me safe. Regarding the door, I hand make all these doors. The frame of the door is hardwood, as so is the door framer on the door itself. And of course, it's cedar planking. I like the small porthole window. I've traditionally put larger windows in the door, but I want some way to look out to the back, but I don't want a great big window on there. So I put that porthole window in there, and that works well. And then as far as the lock on the door, I just use a traditional keyed combo lock, which is a residential lock set just like you'd put in your house. So between the door itself having a hardwood frame, the door frame being hardwood, and that keyed entry, this is a really secure door. And then coupled with the fact that this entire camper fits within the confines of the truck, so I can actually shut the tailgate when I'm moving. So that has an extra level of security for the inside of the camper. Now, I always get the question, well, are you afraid of somebody shutting the tailgate while you're sleeping? So my solution, which is maybe not a completely infallible one, is I have a bar here that I can pull out and lock in place that will prevent the tailgate from being shut. Now, if somebody really wanted to shut that tailgate, I'm sure they could break that off. But if I was inside, I would certainly hear the commotion and I could respond accordingly. Now, this is all the mounts for this camper are all internal. So here's one of the outboard turnbuckles that you guys see. And then finally, in addition to the solar I have on the roof, you see this cable right here. This cable ties into the interior, and I carry typically a set of foldable panels. So if I wanted to park the camper in the shade, for example, I can, that's about 10 feet of cable. I can pull it out and set up my foldable panels, knowing that my panels on my roof are blocked. Yet if I want to keep it in the shade, or just, an ideal campsite happens to be, under a tree or some other obstruction. All right. So down here, as I had showed before, this is the solar gen. This is a 2000 watt hour one. And I just simply plug in the 5000 BTU air conditioner unit into it. And over in the corner here, let me see if I got them. Right here's one of them. This is one of the solar plugins right there. So this one would be for the external mount. And I have right now the roof ones plugged in. But if I wanted to use the outdoor one, I would just plug it in from there. I'll show you my sink in a moment, but I store 2 6-gallon water containers. They're just buckled in there with a seat belt, and one I've got back in there in the rear. Of course, a fire extinguisher is very important. And then I just use a smaller refrigerator, as you guys see right there, to keep everything cool. And then in that far back corner, that little door pulls off, and down inside of there, I have a cassette-style toilet if I need to use the restroom. And then, of course, underneath the bed here where those water bottles are, that's a pretty sizable storage area. So let's walk on in. So all of the wood that you guys see in here, this is actually all real cedar. This is not anything fake. It's not a composite material. This is real wood. So back here, that's, and I have this at wide angle just so I have a little better view. That's that 5000 BTU air conditioner unit. And of course, I've got a couple little cubbies around it. Over here, these are the windows. Now this is the trim kit. This pulls down for full blackout covering, or this bottom section opens up and it has a screen. As you see it right now, they're just open with direct access outside. Up there, up in the upper right, that is the vent. And I have the switch for the vent. Now down here is where my switches are. This is, just for context, this is right below the bed. So the nice thing about this is if you were stepping in the camper from the outside, you could turn on the lights. To the far left is a speed controller, which allows me to adjust the exact speed of that vent In the middle is the dimmer for the overhead LED lights. And then that other switch just operates the outside light up here. So let's step in. Let me show you guys my little sink system. So this right here is just a, I believe it's a 10 by 13 sink. And what I have right here is just a little USB faucet. You can get these on Amazon. They're meant to sit on those like 5-gallon Sparklet style water bottles. They got a little battery inside and a little pump, and you just turn it on and the water comes out, just drains out the bottom. And there's a tube that runs down underneath there and into the tank. Right here is a faux front. This will pull off. There's a little bit of storage underneath there, but over its two neighbors are two little drawers. Right here I keep a little butane stove that I can put up here for cooking and some other stuff. And then over here is another drawer, you know, just for other odds and ends. Here's the other side of that window. Got my little tea kettle here, which just holds on with some magnets. I've got storage up above this area, which I'll speak about in a moment. And I've got some overhead storage here, which is the little mini cab over section that you see. And this is a pretty sizable storage area. Got a little light back there, so it's easy to see. Down here is a little window access. Of course, it's not big enough to crawl through, but it's a little pass-through into the truck down there. This is my little wall with my decorative flag and hatchet there. And here we are back at the AC unit. Okay, guys, so this is a new feature that I incorporate in this camper that I really like. Now, for these small sizes, I've always wanted like a little table or an area that I could do some work, but it's really convenient to have something that I could fold up. So I've had slide out mechanisms, other stuff like that, that works really well. But this is my solution here. You just grab these knobs, pull firmly, and this folds down very much like a little secretary desk. So this tabletop can sit folded up like this, which gives you a little bit of working space, or it can fold out further and give you a lot more working space. And then, of course, when you're done, you just lift this up and it holds in place with magnets. And that turns out to be really secure. Down in here, I have a light, and this is kind of like my little work area. This is my little kitchen, you know, so everything is held in place. And amazingly enough, when you're even driving off-road, about the only thing that falls off sometimes is my tongs, but there's two magnetic strips down there. I have my cutting board, a couple plates, my cast iron, a couple cups, a little container there to boil water, spices, teas, paper towels, and every kitchen utensil that I could think I would use for one or two people. Again, keep in mind, this is just a small little camper. Now, it's not super useful, but you can actually also access the overhead storage for the cab over right up through there. But this is probably one of my favorite features, and the first time I've incorporated something like this, and I really, really like it. So guys, in a nutshell, that's about the extent of this interior. Again, I'm repeating this, but this is a small camper. This is not meant to be a great big one. I often get comments from people like, where's the bathroom and all this kind of stuff. I do have a cassette toilet, but this is built for a very specific purpose. Like I said, for a solo traveler to kind of hit that fine middle ground between comfort and mobility. And I'll tell you this, between the lightweight and the aerodynamic and low profile shape of this camper on my vehicle, which happens to be a later model F-150, you essentially almost don't even notice this camper's on there. Now, I'm still evaluating the gas mileage impact, but it seems to only be about 1 mile per gallon. Of course, there is some differences between freeway and city driving, so I'm still kind of evaluating that. But the long-winded point is the gas mileage impact is exceptionally minimal. And that's pretty amazing to think that you could be driving around in your truck, freeway speeds, traveling, and on the back, you got a little mini home right here that I think the vast majority of people, for a little solo traveler, would find that this is everything you need and nothing you don't. So guys, thanks for watching this tour. I recommend that you check out my channel. Like I've said, I've built 7 other truck campers, so this one being 8. I have vlog videos, which I track through all of my builds. And I've also built a van a 4x4 van, which I think is pretty interesting and has gotten quite a bit of interest. And I am starting a new van project, which will be kind of more of a lower profile stealth GMC conversion van style. So please check out my channel, check out my other builds, and let me know what you guys think. And I appreciate all of your time, and especially if you watch this far. Like, subscribe, comment, all of those things, guys. And you guys have a great day.